This is the ultimate follow-up strategy. And specifically because I create systems based on human nature. Like for me, I only create systems around things that like people just naturally are like that. So it's not like it's like a cool thing I made up. It's more like, no, like this actually is true. So how do we make it a framework? So this is the ultimate follow-up strategy. Now, here's what I mean by that. There's gonna be so many different tactical ways to do follow-ups, okay? I'm teaching you strategy. Strategy means how you do something, like the approach. But tactical and practical, that's the step-by-steps. I'm not gonna give you step-by-steps. You're gonna be able to fill that in with yourselves with your experience. And Aaron obviously is gonna have more of a specific niche way of teaching you guys what to do. But understanding strategy is how the best in the world become the best in the world. Their strategies are different. So you might have there might be the same exact script, which is tactical what to say, but your strategy on the calls, you're focused on something completely different when you're on the call, and that makes you a better closer. So let's talk about follow-up. I'm gonna teach you what human nature is in follow-ups. So what happens? You have a good night, it's an awesome time. The next day they leave, they left behind their bracelet. They left behind whatever, their charger, okay? What do you naturally do? We're talking about human nature. Let's not make sales complicated. Let's just look at how life really works. What do you naturally feel like doing now? Person left, you're probably not gonna see them again, or maybe you'll see them again. There's nothing, you know, don't really think about it. The charger's there, their bracelet's there, their earrings are there, whatever. Question is, what's the obvious thing you're gonna do? This is the genius of this kind of strategy. Because when you leave something behind, it's not an option to not follow up to give it back to them. Unless you're absolutely detached and you hate the person, you'll throw it out. Most of the time, you're gonna wanna do it even if there's no benefit to you. Like you don't wanna see them again. You'll probably hit them up. What does that tell you? That the greatest follow-up strategy is to leave something behind to come back to get. When you do that, does it feel like you're following up? Does it feel like there's a sales process? Does it feel like there's ulterior motive? Most of the time, no. But in this case, if the girl or whoever, the person left behind something, you're gonna feel like you're being a nice person by giving it back to them. Okay. So we wanna play on this human tendency of giving things back to people or leaving things behind so we can go back to us. This is what I call the conversation loop. I thought about this and I'm like, wait, why do people complicate follow-ups? Let's look at follow-up. Term always be closing. So always be closing is always be closing. And this doesn't mean on money, it's closing on, price, but if it's not like I'm paying you, if it's not that on appointment, if it's not that on the next thing that you're gonna do with them. So if you're not closing them on buying, you're closing them on seeing you again, but you gotta be closing on something. You can't leave it open-ended. When you leave it open-ended, you're going nowhere. That's not follow-up. Now you're just begging, chasing, and you're from an inferior place. This is how you stay superior in the sales process. So here's how the conversation loop works, playing on that human tendency. We wanna leave things behind at all times. So never should you have in your sales process a time where you don't have anything to come back for. Then it starts to feel like, oh, you're just the guy hitting me up because you want to see if I'm ready to pay you. We avoid all of that at all costs when we don't do this. So what we want to do is when we start the conversation, it starts here, convo, and we want to get them to the sale. All we got to make sure we do is, obviously there's one path to the sale. You have a conversation, you close them. You get them to the call, you close them, right? That's the easy one. That's 10% of the world. 80% of the world are maybes. They're not gonna just go straight to the sale once you talk to them. So what do we gotta do is we gotta leave something behind. So we wanna leave something behind, wanna leave a resource behind. And then we wanna go back to the conversation. That's how we wanna look at it. I'll put it like this so it's easier to see. So that we can go back to here again. That's why it's like a loop. So when we start a conversation, if we're not going straight to the sale, we're gonna go straight to giving them something that we need to follow up on to find out how it was for them. A physical example of this is we give them a training. We give them a PDF. We give them a link to check out. When we give them something, it's like leaving behind the bracelet at their place. And when we do that, we have a real reason that we're messaging them again. The entire tone of the follow-up is completely now controlled from the frame of like, wait, hold on, I'm not bugging you. I'm just actually coming back because I told you about this and like, I want to know how it was. Now, how do we do it properly? Because you could also do the right thing in the wrong way and it's still wrong. So before you give in, these are tips on how to actually do it. Before you give something to them, you do the if I, would you. Hey, yeah, look, so if I sent you this free training, would you check it out? Would you watch the whole thing? If I sent you this script, this step-by-step Amazon guide, would you actually go through it and tell me if it's helpful? So you ask for what we call micro commitments. Because if you're not getting small yeses, you're never going to get to the big yes. Keeping it simple, guys. You see what I'm talking about? Micro commitments, right? So if I would you, they go, yeah, no problem. And then you could even double commit. You could be like, are you sure? Because I know you're busy. You get them to say yes twice, always improves. You don't have to do it every time, but if you see someone's kind of busy, be like, get a real commitment from them. If you don't feel like they're fully committed, then you're probably not. Are you sure? 'Cause I know you're busy. You don't have to if you don't want to. That's called the push away. Always remind them that they don't need to do this. That's pushing away because it always cuts tension. Pushing away is the ultimate sales resistance tension cutter. Okay, so if I would you, then you send it to them. I'll take a question right after. Then you send it to them, right? All right, cool. Then right after you send it to them, you don't just end there. Now, what's the wrong thing to do? So the next thing is we close on the next appointment. Set an appointment, really. Follow-up appointment. You would say this. Follow-up appointment. An appointment meeting, even like I'll just message you tomorrow at 12. Does that work for you? So time, and does that work for you? So I'll put it like this. Follow-up appointment. Then you ask for the time. That's a clock. Does that work? They gave you yes to that, and that's right after you send the thing to them. And by the way, closers on the phone, same thing. Someone doesn't pay you on the spot or doesn't put a deposit or anything. It's like absolute just pure follow-up, no, nothing down. No problem. Hey, can I send you this thing, by the way? In the meantime, you check it out, and then I'm going to call you. And then let's book our second appointment now. You never... Listen, the only way you end a call without a second call or a payment or something happen is if it's a turn away. Like, yo, this person's not ready right now. You're not ready for us. Right? You turn them away like, yeah, this is a no for us. From our end, it's a no to you. Everyone else is either paying you on the spot or they're booking a next appointment. That's it. All right, cool. Then you go, hey, so in the setters though, the DMs or triage, if you're calling or whatever, hey, I'm going to email you this. I'm going to SMS you this thing. I want you to check it out. If I hit you up later at 8 p.m. tonight, is that enough time for you to check this out? So I want to ask you if this was helpful. And that's the way I want you to ask them. Don't be like, I want to know what you think. I want your opinion. You don't say that. You go, I want to follow up to find out if it was helpful. I want to see if this was helpful, if it helped you fix the problem you're dealing with. And if not, I got more stuff. So I want to see what else I can send you. See? We're keeping the relationship abundant. They're like, yo, there's so much this person wants to give me. They're not even asking me for money yet. That's the great way to look at it. All right? So we do that, and then we do the follow-up. And then we actually do the follow-up message. For setters, if you're in your own account, send a voice note. It's far more personal. For triage setters, send an SMS before you call them. It's respectful. For closers, same thing. SMS and then call them. Hey, I'm going to call you in like 10 minutes. I know you're busy. Just want to find out if you did the thing. Maybe in 30 minutes in advance because most people leave at the last minute and you give them time to do it. Sales because it's therapy. It's a direct reflection of who you are as a person. You know why? Because you're going to go into some of the most terrifying human relational things you're going to deal with. If you had problems with your mom growing up, guess what? That shit's going to show up in your sales process. I'm just letting you know that. If you don't know how to resolve fucking conflicts between you and your past relationship, that shit's going to show up. Your therapy is right in front of you. Your prospect's going to trigger all those shit in you. Okay? Because when someone doesn't respond to you, you're getting ignored. Oh, it's fucking fear of rejection right there. When they say no to you on the call, that's fear of fucking failure right there. Fear of rejection, fear of criticism. When they're like, I don't like that you're so persistent, you're bothering me. That's fear of criticism. Like all of that shit, like all this shit you guys dealt with, all we dealt with growing up, that shit's gonna come out. So you better heal that shit, love it, come out, be like, oh look, I'm bothered. I actually just made a new training called How to Reshape Your Relationship with Selling. Because most closers and setters, and what you guys do is you get triggered by a lot of things that happen, and you don't know how to handle it. So because you don't know how to handle it, you react unproductively. But really, it's, the trigger is the way. So it's like you feel that, but like, oh, I have to grow bigger than this thing, so I'm unfazed by stuff like this. But usually it comes out of something that happened before. So your relationship with people, it's about to get better because you're going to get better at sales. And Darren's right. So you're going to see how you are as a person. If you're not organized, sales calls are usually not organized. Your follow-ups are probably not organized. People are going to feel that. They don't want to work with someone like that. They don't want to sell through you. I would literally go around that. I would email the company. Do you have another representative I could just pay? I don't want this guy. He didn't earn my money. I don't like him. What does it tell you? We control if people do business with us. We have to assume and we have to trust the company has done its part. Yeah, man, you got to be a person people want to do business with. Remember, you're a sales person. You're not a sales person. This is how you follow up. Tactically, Aaron, you guys can find now within your workflows what things you can give, the most effective things that you see have high conversion rates. When people see that resource, they go, yo, this is sick. I want more. Just make that the consistent thing you leave behind. But for everyone else, make it the habit of always closing on the, hey, if I leave you with this, would you check it out? Would you go through this? I want to see if it's helpful. So see, if we're either doing one of two things. We're either closing them on like starting, or we're giving them more things to make them ready to start. There's only two things you're doing at all times, nothing else. So follow-up is another way of saying indirectly selling. You get on a sales call or in a chat, you're trying to book the call or trying to get the objective achieved. That's direct selling. Indirect selling is value, follow-up. How you doing, by the way? Hey, let me fix another thing for you. You just add so much consistent value that's hard for them to be like, I feel like I'm already a customer. I might as well pay you and join the program. So that's how you want to look at follow-up. Now, I'm going to give you a specific advanced training. How many closers here have done a call, didn't book a follow-up, but wanted to follow up with someone in the past that hasn't bought but booked a call? Okay, cool. So isn't it awkward? I had this question of me as well, and I want to address it. There's a way to look at this. So if you've ever had a past no sale that you want to follow up with to see if they'll buy, how do you avoid the commission breath of like, oh, you're just hitting me up because you're just wondering if I'm ready to pay you now? And I'm a no. Like, leave me alone. How do we avoid that? Simple. You don't look at them as follow-up. They're a brand new lead. That's the mistake people make. You follow up with them, you're like, hey, you just follow up. How you been since our call? No. Because you're not on the sales call anymore. It's over. They didn't say yes to you. That means it never happened. Treat them brand new. So what are you going to follow up with them? If they're not just a almost closed call that I'm going to follow up to see if they want to buy now, if they're brand new of a lead, a closer here, tell me, how do you lead the follow-up then? You didn't leave them with anything to follow up on. They just said, no, I'm not ready yet. You didn't do what I'm teaching here. So you're just literally hitting them up out of the blue, and they know the price, they know the offer, but they just didn't buy last time. How do you follow up if it was a brand new lead and you didn't imagine you had that call with them? Someone give me an answer. Well, let me ask you something. When you're making a brand new stranger warmed up to your offer and to working with you guys, what do you do? So for cold calling, for example, Aaron, and I'm not a cold calling expert. I've done my fair share of studying on it. It's pretty simple though. It's the philosophy is hit people up only to give them something really valuable for free. That's the only way you do cold calling. You can set appointments too, but I'm saying the best way is just to call them because you have something to give them. I saw this reel of a guy walked around giving gold bars to someone worth $2,000 each. You ever seen that reel? You seen that guy? He's going around just on New York Street, and he was just like walking up to people. He's like, guys, each one of these gold bars are worth $2,000. He walked up to people. He's like, would you like one, sir? The person's like, no. Just walk around. He's like, all right. Walk to the next person. You want one, sir? You want one, sir? One's like, yeah, okay. He's like, congrats, man. You just made $2,000. I'm like, cool. Walks away. And I'm like, what's the point of this reel? And he kept doing it, and a lot of people said no, and it didn't faze him. And at the end of it, he said it, and just banger, just hit me so hard. He goes, when you have something of real value to give to people, you don't worry or feel afraid to go up to people and approach them for it. I'm like, wow, it's like they're losing $2,000 because they said no to my gold bar. I'm like, what a way to explain how to see follow-ups and how to see cold calling, cold outbound. So, but what happens if I walk up to a person and I'm wanting something? Of course I'll be insecure. I'm like, because I'm attached to them wanting, like they control me because I need something from them. But this guy's walking around like, I don't need anything from you. I'm about to bless your life. You either accept my gift or you don't. That's how we got to look at follow-up, and that's how we got to look at cold. So when we're looking at a follow-up that didn't book a second appointment, as a new lead, what do? We don't go back and bring back the baggage or that call because maybe they didn't like the call. We don't come back with like, hey, how you been since the call? Your fucking baggage mind. Oh, you know that time that you almost paid me? How you been? Are you ready now? That's not going to ever work, man. Now, if they're ready, they'll probably hit you up if the call went great. But for everyone else, which is a large majority of most people's follow-up list, I want you to imagine their brand new list. So how do you hit them up? You don't even remember the last call. Don't even address it. Don't bring their on because they might have hated the call. You call them like, yo, what's going on, man? Hope you're well since we last talked. That's the only acknowledgement. Thought of you. I think this free thing's going to really be helpful to you. Can I send it over to you? Brand new. You restart the relationship.